the question I want to ask is within this, what, okay, first off, what would you classify this as genre wise?
Um, I'd classify it as Rage Against the Machine.
Okay, so it's kind of genre-less.
No, but I mean, a lot of people will, well, it gets, especially when you get to Mic Check and stuff. Mic Check, Maria, War
Mm,
Within a Breath. Um, that's rap. It's got rap elements like in there. You can hear it,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And then obviously it's like rock.
yeah.
It's
That's what I was
funky
wondering.
rock. So
Like what musically would you classify it
I
as?
think it is
It's
rap
like rock,
rock. Yeah,
rap
I think,
rock. Yeah,
but it's
because he's
done
not
right.
singing. Yeah, he's not really
Nah,
singing. Yeah. Okay, cool. No, because I was just wondering that. And then my follow-up question from that is within that kind of, well, I don't know how entrenched you are like in that community, let's say. But like, or in terms of music within that kind of genre of like rock music and all that sort of stuff, or rap rock even in general. Is this considered, because for me as an outsider, I was thinking about, you were talking about how this is like what, 29 years old or however.
so this album is came out in
Oh,
'99, so
sorry, this is
21 years
20.
old.
Sorry, this is about 21 years old.
Yeah,
Sorry. Yeah. Sorry, you're talking about the other album, right? Yeah, yeah. So this album, it made me think about how this album is, 1999. It's about 21 years old, or almost 22 at this point. How I was about to say, like, yeah, it doesn't sound dated because you were talking about it's like the themes and things like that. But then I was actually wondering, maybe the concepts don't sound dated, but for me, actually, I don't even know if I have a frame of reference for like if it sounds dated or not. So I actually wanted to ask you, like, for this type of music, because I can usually tell with hip hop music something that sounds dated or not. Whereas if you give someone who's never listened to hip hop, if you give them Illmatic, they don't have a frame of reference. Whereas I can tell, yeah, that's definitely made in the 90s, right? It's classic, but
yeah, I
I
know
can
what you
tell
mean.
when it was made, right? This, I don't have a frame of reference. To me, this just sounds fresh because it is fresh.
Uh, do you know what? It's interesting that you say that because I think that you would be able to tell the difference between this album and their
Okay.
first. You can
Okay.
hear it, right? It's got that kind of, I don't know. You can kind of carbon date the first album,
Okay.
especially. Um, it aged really, really well. Don't get me wrong, but it
Sure.
does sound old now, which is fair enough.
Yeah.
This album sonically, I mean, production wise, is damn near flawless. It
Yeah.
sounds
Yeah.
fresh as daisies, to be
Sounds
honest.
really, really good. Just
Yeah,
production. Yeah. Production quality wise, it sounds really big. Sounds
yeah,
really good. And it's within what I really like when I listen to an album is when it's within its own world. So it's like, if you're in that mood, it's like you go to that album because you won't
mm,
want to listen to anything else apart from what's within that album because you'll be sucked into that particular vibe and mood that they create. It's not like you won't come across a song and think, oh, this reminds me of, obviously there's variation in this, but it's like, oh, this reminds me of this. I feel like listening to this now. Oh, I feel like listening to that.
sure.
You're so caught up in the world that they create for you, like the painting that they create for you
Mm,
sonically, that I really appreciate that about this album. Because I talk about sometimes fitting some of these albums that if you give me for an exchange into my rotation, like my regular rotation of music that I'm listening to, and how some albums are easy to keep going back to. I almost
sure.
want to go back to them, or I just kind of see them and I'm like, yeah, yeah, let's throw that on. Whereas some albums, let's say like the Four Hero one, so I was finding it a bit difficult to kind of find a time and a place to really put that on and kind of remember to put it on.
Defo.
Um, this one was very, very easy for me to just, I think I must have listened to this quite a few times within the last week without realizing it. I listened to it when I went for a walk. I listened to it in the background when I'm like cooking, washing my dishes. And just, yeah, just because from the very first listen, I remember just thinking every time I'd see it, it's like in my library, you know,
Mm,
now. So like it's added to the library and it's not going to leave. Um,
mm,
you know, listen to an album if I like it and I think, yeah, okay, that's cool. If I like most of the songs on there, it's not just one or two and everything else is whatever. I'll add it to my library because I might come back to it at some point, and I'll remember. So this one is in there because I have this feeling that may return to it every now and then, because every time I see it in there and I think, okay, I need to listen to it for this podcast, I'm not just thinking I need to listen to it for the podcast. I'm also thinking, I remember how that sounded. Yeah, that sounded great in my headphones. Bang, let's just put that on, because it just fulfills kind of what I'd like. Some hard drums, that kind of, I've always struggled with rock music, like getting into it, right? With certain things.
Yeah.
There's certain types I just can't vibe with. I can't vibe with very fast and kind of I can't even give you a name of it. Like, I don't know if you know what I'm talking about.
I
but
think I do. I have an idea if it's like the kind of, I don't want to sound like mean, like if it's like sort of the generic kind of rock that I think you're talking about, because obviously you know,
yeah.
I don't know your head like
Yeah,
like
for
that.
sure, for sure.
But I can imagine why you would say that. There are, however, many talented bands that
Yeah.
even I thought that I wouldn't like it, but over the years there are some
Mm,
bands that are just
mm,
they play in a certain way, but you just really vibe with.
yeah.
There are definitely, if you like, you know, if you've gotten along with Rage Against the Machine, oh, it's the
Hmm.
gateway. You know,
Okay.
there are
That's what it
so
feels like.
many bands for you, dude. Like there are so
Okay,
many.
cool.
Um,
Cool.
I mean,
Recommend me more, man.
I will, like there's